is those really abnormal angles on seemingly completely fully defined engagements, like just areas. So like we're going on a skyscraper, we're going on a clubhouse, or we're going on to coastline. Whatever map sno0ken knows finds themselves on, they take a normal engagement and they interpret it their own way, finding new angles through unreinforced walls that catch a lot of teams off guard. Now, the thing is, they're going to be going up against the adaptation that is PENTA, but that might be all they really need to get enough rounds on the board to establish some amount of a lead.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
and I mean,
attackers.
PENTA is not unbeatable. They did drop a map in their first matchup in their very first week in Group B, so it's not unheard of, and they did look a little vulnerable, which will happen. And that's part of why I asked that question to Fabian, which was, what's next for PENTA? At some point, you will just not be the unbeatable team permanently atop the mountain. Other teams will catch up, your team will start to experience some fatigue, and it'll be very easy for teams that are hungry and are dedicated to be able to close that gap, and we've seen that in North America. A lot of people thought Rogue was going to go to LAN. They did not. A lot of people thought that Elevate was going to go to LAN. They did not. Latin America, BRK not going to LAN as well. Is EU going to be the only region to send the exact same teams back to LAN if PENTA wins, with ENCE going too? So, and this is something where I think if there's a team that is well equipped to do it, it's going to be sno0ken knows, and they will start their assault on Clubhouse here on round number 1.
You know, we've seen the downfalls of a lot of dynasties throughout Rainbow Six history. Of course, Rogue is a big one as of most recent. As this engagement comes out, Junis lighting up secretly through the garage that had been opened by, well, secretly. A little bit of backfire there from sno0ken knows, but yes, let's talk about the downfalls of dynasties. Wow, KS taking out Renewals as he pushes in through stock. This is a very, by the way, we need to touch on this. This is a very aggressive hold from PENTA. And we were talking earlier about weird angles, and it seems like PENTA are the ones trying to give us that this time around. Secretly, though, going to get the refrag onto Chaos. That's very important. While this roam game has been arguably very successful in favor of PENTA, it has been a back and forth regardless.
And you've seen already a good trade, a good start for sno0ken knows to be able to get an early preliminary frag off, and to lose your Mira and your Chaos, of course, it's always almost a sigh of relief when you can take down one of those C4 operators as well, especially early on before they're really able to use it. Because, I mean, hey, let's just look at this week alone. How many times a Nitro Cell has been able to completely halt a push?
I think KS actually may have been bringing a shield to the fray because he was playing behind that shield at the front door.
Oh, good point.
Not sure if it was his. Could have been the castle's, of course, but it's a safe bet, right? And yeah, no, just the upstairs play to me was extremely interesting. As it's PENTA doing that. Meepy going to be very aggressively pushing in through the tunnel, going to take out Pengu. No refrag coming from the deep armory players as secretly gets another. Fabian, though, with a double kill on the sno0ken, and Meepy, he's doing some good work from the back of the bomb site. It's all down to Eunice now in a 1-on-2. Secretly on 1 HP. Going to be holding the angle and will hit the shot secretly with a tremendous round. Starting the round off really bad, obviously taking a lot of shots from Eunice inside of the garage, but managing to still get that double kill in the end. Very nice attack there, and a good start for sno0ken knows, successfully attacking the basement of Clubhouse. That has got to be a lot of morale going in your favor now.
Yeah, and secretly too, let's speak about him just for a moment. He was integral to their play against Supremacy last week. The man carried a couple rounds that I can remember quite vividly, that without those buck plays, especially one of the 4Ks on Coastline against Supremacy, that I don't really know if it would have given the confidence in his team. And for PENTA there, they had the roam upstairs. They had one off-site. Clubhouse is a map that you can safely fit all 5 of your defenders on site safely without worrying about the potential for somebody to get caught off on a roam. Is that something that you think hurt PENTA with the fact that they had 2 playing above in both the Mira and the Banda?
So I expect odd things from PENTA. I don't necessarily expect a top 4 Clubhouse roam when we're defending the basement from PENTA. We've talked about this before in the past. Now, it has been pretty far in the past considering how often Clubhouse is played, which is not very. But every time we see an upstairs roam from any team, it almost entirely is unsuccessful. We've talked about how the basement is a site that you have to have all 5 of your defenders downstairs throughout, unless you're going for a late roam game coming from the garage. Now, in scrims, sometimes that can be different, but in the Pro League, it's usually a pretty clear-cut thing. In this instance, while Penta's roam game wasn't unsuccessful, it wasn't really triumphant. It was kind of just an even trade. And ultimately, when it came down to that site push, there wasn't enough manpower in place from Penta to be able to get the refrags to delay that push in any significant, meaningful way. The collapse coming in from blue and tunnel, which is a very old strat, but it worked out well for sno0ken here. The collapse coming in was just too much for the remaining Penta defenders to stop. So I think, yeah, I think that upstairs roam really did work for them.
You can see sno0ken knows is not going to be making any mistakes this time around, playing very safely, sheltered in the basement, as you touched upon. And that's the sort of conservative style, typical defense that you're going to rely upon, because when you're going up against a team like this, you need to try and make sure that you are minimizing the mistakes you make and the risks that you take as well. Now, of course, the same applies for Penta, and that's why I don't necessarily agree that it was a smart idea. But what they've done is they've actually blown the entire top out over top of the reinforcements, so it's very easy for them to be able to lob that C4 through and stop anybody at the bottom of those stairs.
That is one of the hardest angles to hit with not only a nade, but a C4. That's even harder. If sno0ken can hit this, it has to be pre-aligned. What a nice C4 toss. Nobody there to catch it, though, unfortunately, from Penta.
Not even a soul within a couple feet of that C4, so good alignment. You can see that sno0ken himself had lined it up perfectly, constantly making sure that his reticle was aligned on that bar.
It's because sno0ken knows.
You can see a smoke will go down. First kill goes to Pengu as he charges in and takes out secretly. So at least one of those toxic babes were able to go out, but that'll be it for the smoke. As you can see now, Fabian looking to push inside a church as Pengu flashes from above. They'll both drop down inside of motorcycle, or moto rather. And Renewals is ready. He's going to get a frag on Nagoga, but immediately Pengu will trade him back. And that is Renewals down in a second from Penga onto sno0ken. Penta now in really good position, though. Lackey will get a kill on Fabian, and then there's only 2 left for the defense. There was only 2. He's going to go for another, but no. KS is able to get it, and Eunice getting the final kill. Penta looking back to form, and it is all tied up. 1-1.
Good attack round there from Penta. They didn't need the advantageous position of dealing with let's say a suffering defense force with them losing the roamers upstairs. That's not really necessary for Penta. It was a pretty clear-cut attack strategy. One of the more recent ones that have been developed as it's a simple collapse coming in from the blue and Moto, not putting a huge emphasis on the armory. I like their take on that. It's completely contrary to the sno0ken nose attack, which was coming in from the construction tunnel and blue. So I like the pincer there. Unfortunately for sno0ken nose, the use of the mirror window wasn't really all that. It wasn't that prevalent, and we've talked about this in the past. Mira, while yes, she is an operator that is in kind of arguably 100% necessary these days, she doesn't find a lot of use on this map anywhere.
And especially not on the site that we are on right now, which is why I would assume that Penta is not running one.
Right.
But Elysian is one of those operators that we've said you can get some sufficient usage out of, depending on the site itself. A good way to deploy your goo mines is stack them up in heavily traversed areas, especially choke points that you know are going to be leading the site. Now, for you, if a strip take happens, they can blow that entire wall open, move in through the pool table itself. If you don't have somebody playing up top, of course, in weight room, then it's very difficult for you to be able to repel that. Where are they going to be getting the most out of Elysian on this site?
I would say you're going to get the most out of Elysian on the other end from a strip take. So you could argue for putting it, and you can see here, Fabian all the way over by the garage. I would say you're going to get the most out of the Elysian when he's on the other end of that strip attack, so defending the flank as it were. instead of trying to stack all of his traps over, like for example, on this strip hallway, as you can see here, it becomes more a case in this situation of just winning via engagement than using Legion Trap to stall, because the honest truth is that as soon as that wall's open, as you can see, Penta's going to fall off. If a team were to fall off, a goo trap's not going to help a whole lot here. It comes down to straight fights. And having Legion as an operator, he's able to a lot easier by himself hold up an entire attack strategy, at least delay for a rotation. So the strategy from Penta there was very clear, very established. A nice engagement here coming out. Secretly gonna put himself in the lead though, eliminating Junis, and that's the second, or excuse me, Eunice, and that's the second time that Secretly has won that fight.
Both times Penta playing very aggressive. Eunice just pushed up right there. Didn't even wait for the buck of Secretly to get inside of that second floor before peeking him. And I like that he's in the iron sights, but in that case, I
mean, he usually puts in good work with it.
Usually puts in good work. Now you've lost your bandit, not detrimental. It does appear that a strip take is in the cards for the next 10 to 15 seconds as the rest of the team lines up. And as you can see, Penta is now pushed quite far back. And you don't have anybody playing up in weight room either, as you saw Secretly was able to take control of that second floor after dislodging the bandit of Eunice on the stairs.
sno0ken knows just going to be looking for any possible opportunities of engagement here. Obviously, Penta going to try and avoid any of those. You can see Goga and Fabian just out of sight here from Renewals. Goga going to get a kill onto Secretly as he pushes his way, I believe, down the stairwell. No, it was straight up through the floor. Good fight there. Secretly, unfortunately, losing that two-way engagement. sno0ken going to get another kill onto KS. And it's looking better for sno0s as they push their way into the pool table. They actually don't have Diffuser in a position to get planted. Maybe going to get lit up from those gas canisters. But it is a 2-on-4. 16 seconds. Meepy going to get a frag onto Pengu. And another one onto Goga. Unfortunately, Meepy not falling to the gas canister is going to result in him being able to crawl his way over into a great position to lock up that round.
And they were not prepared for the strip take itself, and you can see that with how they were lined up. I'm assuming they were expecting a bar push, or sorry, a stock push rather, and there just wasn't really much there to be able to deal with it, especially when you lost your bandit. Yes, they were able to get Secretly before he could do any damage from above. Of course, if you have a buck sitting in weight room, it makes it very difficult for you to be able to retake that pool table spot just by a strip, but they were able to get that kill. But then everything after that, and especially the thing that really confuses me, there was a Valkyrie in play.
Yeah.
And you saw the Ash of sno0ken knows was able to just come right in and walk up to that dartboard and get down. And yes, the Capcan is odd, but just finishing up my thought, there was nobody operating a Valcam in that area unless it had been taken out to be able to see that they'd pushed up. Of course, the smoke went out from Penta, but it was in a completely different direction than where it needed to go.
I think I saw those Valkyrie cams getting a lot eliminated pretty early on. I think they were using them in a more advanced positions, like for example by the strip. So I mean, they could have been expecting a stock take, but the way it looked, I mean, they heard the thermite coming into the strip wall. They fell off of strip intentionally. My opinion is that, whoa, sno0ken, what happened, man? sno0ken taking a lot of damage from something, not sure what. Maybe a Twitch drone? Whatever the case be, sno0ken pretty lit up already early in this round. That's bad. Yeah. Either way, yeah, so that last round, it looked to me just like the argument could be made for Penta spending a little bit more time lingering inside of Strip Club. They fell off that strip hold as soon as Eunice lost that bandit trick on the strip wall itself, the thermite getting that open. Most teams won't do that. Usually you'll see one or two people linger, try to delay a little bit longer, win some fights, but no, Penta was just like, yeah, we're going to fall all the way back. Now, here you can see from sno0s, very aggressive roam hold, similar to what we saw from Penta.
And the thing, too, that I'm a bit confused by is Penta did not need to go to bar, a site that most, I would say probably every pro player would say is much less desirable than going downstairs into Arsenal/Armory and Church. And Penta was not successful in their first defense. They're doing a lot better on attack, though. Both rounds, they have been able to get the first frag on attack, and Goga is going to keep that up by dropping Renewals, and that's just your Jaeger down. So a roamer, but still an opportunity to put your team up. sno0ken, the roaming Capcan above in weight room, I'm a bit perplexed by how they are working a Capcan into this strategy.
I would say I'm cautiously optimistic.
I would say so too. I mean, who expects a Capcan upstairs in weight room when you're attacking on the basement?
But here comes that Pengu drone, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why you cannot roam on a basement hold of Clubhouse. It's too easy for the attackers to drone every single corner, and as a result, you're going to see units take out sno0ken with a very simple fight up the stairs. Now a 3-on-5 with still plenty of time to attack onto these remaining defenders.
You've lost 2 off-site now, so sno0ken knows doing what PENTA did in their very first defense, which was take a couple operators and make sure that they're not nestled in. You're going to see that the first kill is going to go to Secretly for sno0ken knows onto Eunice. KS is going to even it out by taking down Secretly, so we are still at a 4v2. They hold the same numbers advantage right now, PENTA over sno0ken knows. 4v2. You can see maybe we'll pre-fire the corner where the diffuser being held by Goga is going to push in. Lots of destruction there inside a church while Goga drones away. Meepy will have to get very brazen and push out, but the F2 of Pengu says no thank you, leaves just one, and Fabian cleans up Lackey, and the attacking teams so far, flawless.
An excellent execution there, as you can see. I mean, it really comes down to, again, that roam game. What is that roam game, ladies and gentlemen? I understand that Clubhouse is pretty far outside of the meta right now. It's not seeing a lot of play. That's respectable. But why are we still doing this? I mean, history tells a story, guys. You can't roam on the basement of Clubhouse, and if you do, you got to have something ingenious up your sleeve. I mean, I've seen some pretty crazy things on that roam. For example, Valkyrie with a shotgun, back when her shotgun was ridiculous, hiding inside of the main bar cupboards, waiting for her opportunity, being overlooked. I've seen that work, but playing a Capcan upstairs in gym, waiting patiently and hoping nobody's going to drone you, no. No, you're going to get droned, and your roam will be for naught. And I mean, it wasn't just him, too. We did see somebody die over by the main bar, trying to get an aggressive roam, just waiting for a push. This is the roam game that PENTA did also on their first basement hold. And it's just it's a big question. It's why. Both teams putting themselves at an early deficit on defense of the basement. It is really confusing.
And it's surprising because usually teams will win basement and then lose the subsequent defense on one of the other sites. No defensive hold has been successful thus far. Now, for those that are tuning in that are confused by a Doc emerging, doesn't see a lot of play, this is one of the sites in the game where Doc actually has the most play. Why? You can sit him at the back of Arsenal, and wow, Eunice getting a spawn peek onto Secretly, and you've lost your buck. And look at the splayed out corpse there by the forklift just outside of stock. That is going to be a huge issue because you cannot put pressure on the kitchen nor the top of the stairs anymore. And I mean, there's no mirrors to really worry about, but if you're PENTA, you gotta be exhaling right now.
Absolutely. Not only that pressure from above, but even more so, Secretly, probably one of the top performers for sno0ken knows so far throughout this map. Can we get the scoreboard real quick, Marcy? Appreciate it. There you can see Secretly at the top, 5 kills. And with only 4 rounds played, that's pretty impressive.
And we also said the same thing last week against Supremacy, is that Secretly is top fragging, but not as an entry, which is nice. He's playing that supporting role, but is still able to clean up the kills too. Now, just touching briefly on Doc, one of the last remaining defensive operators with an ACOG. It's not unusual to see him hold up the back of Arsenal by those crates, getting that long line of sight all the way to the bottom of the stairs. Obviously, very effective when you have an ACOG versus the ACOGs of your attackers. A lot harder to do, of course, if you have a reflex, a hollow, a red dot, what have you. Now, sno0ken knows down 1. They will start to attack kitchen, and they'll have to use the Ash charges to do Buck's job.
It's taken him a bit of time, though, to establish this control, and while they are getting the job done, they aren't going to find anything underneath the kitchen. Most of the defenders playing from far back inside of Armory or even Blue. Not a lot of pressure being put into that west side Armory hold. And as a result, sno is not going to be able to crawl themselves out of this deficit, and as time ticks away, they're going to need to start applying pressure directly onto an unfaltered, unwavering, simple line in the sand for PENTA.
And it's unusual as well to see a dirt tunnel push. I've noticed that they've been defending, or sno0ken knows rather, has been reinforcing it. It doesn't get a lot of play. You don't see a lot of garage pushes, you don't see a lot of dirt tunnel pushes. You've already commented on this, but I just want to reinforce it. And now Pengu, who is supposed to be watching that main hallway, is going to get torn apart by Lackey. from the hatch up top. Lackey will drop conveniently right onto a goo trap and get blown apart as KS and Fabian get two. Goga and Eunice go down. Eunice getting a trade before he can be finished off, and now sno0ken of sno0ken knows. Last one left, Fabian with the pistol is able to finish him off, and PENTA takes their very first lead and the first successful defensive hold so far.
Yeah, and what a good one there. So what was it that allowed PENTA to walk away with the first defense win of the map? It was a simple adaptation. sno0ken knows using the same exact attack strategy they used on the first time they went down into the basement. This time, though, PENTA not roaming upstairs, more importantly, ready to receive that perfectly timed pincer between blue and construction tunnel and countering it beautifully. And that's all that it really is. I mean, it was just the guns right pointed in the correct positions at the correct times, and that's all she wrote for PENTA.
They realized the mirror wasn't all that useful. They were able to go with the dock there. Look at how even these scoreboards are right now. The score is, of course, 3-2 in favor of PENTA, but take a look at every single contribution from every member of those teams. That's 10 players, all pulling their weight and doing their job very well. It's nice to see. You don't have any underperformers at the moment. And really all it's going to take is if one team happens to get a certain member who catches fire, I think that could be it and swing it in favor of either of these teams at the moment. Of course, a very even contest, and really it's anybody's game.
I mean, we talked about the counteracting of the strategy there last round for PENTA and against sno0ken knows on their defense. But it was also, like you were just saying, secretly getting caught off guard outside. That alleviated so much pressure. It also wasted a lot of time as it forced sno0ken knows to be a lot more cautious. So just as you were saying, one specific player catching fire when he really shouldn't is going to result in a lot of these rounds being won or lost, depending. Now, PENTA, their turn to attack the basement. Last time they came here, they went for a straight Moto blue take, and it worked out great for them. Are they going to be making significant changes this round, or are they going to make the same mistake that sno0ken knows made on their last attack and just go for same old, same old?
sno0ken knows is playing it safe at the moment by not having that roaming captain, not having that roaming bandit. It looks like they understand exactly what's going on. And of course, this is their third defense, and they're doing exactly what they're expecting of. A wasted C4 onto the floor of the kitchen. Won't get much. You can see Eunice was smart to climb on top of that counter and is now back and unscathed. Eunice gets first kill onto Meepy. So after that Nitro Cell went down, the Hibana was getting the last laugh by eliminating the Pulse and giving PENTA an ability to come back.
Pulse is so incredibly important in that exact position. Gives you so much information to pull from as a defensive team, and not having him anymore, that's going to hurt.
And just even losing a Pulse before the end of a round, of course, when it's 30 seconds left and you have a Pulse and you know exactly where that push is coming from. One of the operators that I guess thrives the most in the dying minutes. Now look at that. Beautiful read by PENTA there. That's the exact same play that sno0ken knows did last time, and they are able to push back for the second time, and a lot of gunfire being exchanged between that open mirror window as sno0ken is going to try to get a kill and be pressured from Pengu, who takes a lot of damage and is not able to flush the mirror out as well, just with over a minute to go. Eunice is going to get another, that's his second on the round as sno0ken goes down. And we're going to see another smoke. That's going to leave secretly with just one as we hit the 60-second mark in round number 6. Pengu waits by the barbed wire. Knows where the Jaeger is holed up. This is the same spot that Renewals played at last time. Lackey was able to get some pretty significant frags from the same position, and he'll do so again. Fabian goes down. So that's the first kill for sno0ken knows. Onto the Ella, and if any character, or any operator rather, is going to get that, it's going to be your Ella. Renewals will now try to move into sight, give some covering fire to Lackey as it's going to be a hatch drop from PENTA, and Lackey gets another, this time onto Eunice. That'll quiet the Hibana down. Another drop for Goga and Lackey, and secretly with 2 big kills onto Goga and Pengu, a 3v1, and KS is able to make it a 2v1. So it's the buck left. He sees Renewals can't win that gunfight. The Jaeger draws the final blood, and we're all tied up, 3-3.
Great defense there from sno0ken knows, but I gotta hand it a little bit to PENTA. Seemingly, okay, so what they did there is they changed their attack strategy, just as I was saying they probably should have, but it was a very simple attack strategy they switched to. Let's all drop down kitchen drop. I'm not sure that's the right call, especially after in the early round getting the first 2 kills. Do we really want to bottleneck ourselves? Obviously in this instance, hindsight's 20/20, and it did not work out for PENTA. maybe just sticking with their normal push coming in from the Moto and the Blue would have helped them out a little bit more there in that situation. But alas, it is what it is. And like you said, that 3-3 scoreline, sno0ken knows putting up one heck of a fight here on Clubhouse. Of course, this is their map pick, but in the past, PENTA has been absolutely undaunted by any other team's attempts to counteract them on this specific map. And clearly, sno0ken knows doing their homework.
And I'm kind of surprised. I would have liked to have heard the team comms at that point, because not only are you all dropping from the same hatch, you had 4 operators of PENTA dropped from that hatch. 3 of them were unsuccessful at driving Lackey away from those boxes at the back of Arsenal. Finally, they got them, but it was too late. You put them at a 1v2, and KS just wasn't able to close out the round in a position that realistically sno0ken knows should be winning. Why are they all dropping from the hatch? There was no moto pressure. There wasn't any pressure from the stairs. Why when you are up, as you said, at that advantage, do you put all your eggs in one basket? Because when they blow that basket up, you got no eggs left.
Well, I can tell you why I think they were doing that, what their thought process was likely. It's, oh, okay, guys. They're expecting us to do this attack because we did it before. Also, we've already got 2 kills from this attack. Oh, nice angle there from Fabian onto Secretly all the way outside. Great kill. That's the 2nd time that's happened to Secretly, who has been caught off guard all the way outside by Construction. Now, Lackey has pushed his way all the way into this strip hallway and is trying to pressure onto the roamers inside of Strip Club. Last time, PENTA fell off really quickly. Eunice going to get a kill onto Renewals, pushing his way in through the main strip doorway. And now it's looking really great for PENTA on this bar defense. Lackey playing the passive angle. You can see him not wanting to directly challenge, but as he gives himself away, the C4 is going to come out from Goga. It will damage, but not kill. The finish off, though, from Goga, and Eunice, meanwhile, taking out sno0ken. It's looking amazing for PENTA. Could this be a perfect round? Meepy going to be the last attacking operator, challenging from the strip doorway. He doesn't know that he has the angle. KS just going to be waiting patiently. Meepy has tons of time to work with here, but he's got to deal with 5 whole PENTA players. He's going to start to pressure from the kitchen. This is a good angle to challenge. No one from PENTA ready to receive this. KS going to hear, though, and turn around. Just a fake out.
And that's
nope.
it. Pengu. I didn't want to interrupt you because PENTA set us up in such a position where you had no idea what was going to happen next. And so you get put in the awkward position of playing in bar and stock. So what do? You decide, we'll bring the fight to you. And almost like PENTA was playing offense on defense that round. And now we're in match point with PENTA not allowing sno0ken knows to get even an inch whatsoever. And I mean, I also got to give some commendation to PENTA for running the rare Bandit C4 and making it work.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make it work, then why not? I didn't see it. Where did the Bandit C4 come out?
Bandit tossed the C4 at the Ash that was trying to push into Strip, blew a hole in the wall, and then was able to follow up the kill.
That was the Valkyrie from Goga, I believe.
Was it the Valkyrie?
Yeah, it was the Valkyrie.
Yeah,
I think the Bandit barbed wire was inside of the lock. It's whatever. Bandit C4Y, right?
I was wrong. I'll admit I was wrong.
It's okay.
I apologize.
The big thing to take away from that round for me was the play inside of Strip Club so aggressively. The last time that PENTA played inside a Strip Club, they fell back immediately. They did not want to. They did not want to play inside as soon as the wall got opened up. This time, PENTA lingered and were successful, to say the least.
And given how attacker-sided this round has, or this matchup has been rather here on Clubhouse, you have sno0ken knows playing an unfavorable site against a team that has done quite well on attack. They've only lost 1 time so far. So I'm curious to see if it's going to be as aggressive from sno0ken knows there. And of course, we do see an Echo coming out, which is the first time we've seen an Echo, and the Yokai drone could be a very particular menace against the attackers in PENTA, depending on how sno0ken knows plays it out. Now, he's brought a deployable shield. All hold up and ready for the push, and it looks like they're going to try to take from stock and completely avoid Strip altogether.
Yeah, I think that's the right call from PENTA here, as we've seen a lot of Strip focus from both teams on attack of this top floor. Now, it is going to be red pretty quickly from sno0s, but that might not matter as KS gets to the early kill onto Secretly inside of that stockroom. Secretly has been one of the players to die the most in the early stage of these rounds, whether on attack or defense. Yes, an impact player, but as your smoke, with less than the half of the round gone already, that he really needs to stay alive. I mean, let's be honest.
And there's almost a direct correlation between how well sno0ken does and how long Secretly stays alive. It seems like almost every single time that he is alive, towards the end of the round, they win. And yes, you lose your smoke, you hit the halfway mark, you're on match point, you've lost that last second defender to close things off for you, but you still do have the Echo, which is great when you're running both of those operators. Of course, those are the two closers. You want them in the dying seconds of a round, similar to Pulse, but I think both are more effective. And 60 seconds left. Lackey hold up just beside Bar, inside of the main area in Clubhouse, and you see some late drone work being done as PENTA begins its push on what could be the final round here to send us to map number 2 and hopefully put them one matchup closer rather, to going back to LAN. And if they want to go for the three-peat, they're going to need it. Now, you can see Diffuser being picked up by Goga. Some juggling there as they do look to push in. You can hear the fire from Lackey, but nothing right now.
Ooh, look at this angle for Judas that he's trying to open up on the sno0ken.
Fabian's going to get a kill on the Lackey, and Eunice adds up with Meepy as well. Only 2 members of sno0ken left. Goga gets down, but a trade from Eunice and a Claymore from Fabian is able to finish things off, and PENTA survives after looking a little bit shaky to take map number 1, 5-3.
I would say a pretty dominant turnaround there from PENTA, and it all comes down to the reading into sno0ken strategies and completely adapting to them on the fly. I love that from PENTA. They did actually over-adapt one round, as we saw on that basement attack when they went for that kitchen drop down. Really not the right call, but those things happen, and when you're walking away with a 5-3 scoreline regardless of that, it's got to scream dominance on a map like Clubhouse, which again was sno0ken map pick. So, map number 2 then, it's going to be Bank. Bank, a very interesting map, similar to Clubhouse, finding itself pretty far outside of the meta in North America and Europe. Much more play in Latin America. However, it's been a mixed bag of results for every single team that finds themselves there. I don't know. It's really a hard map to call. I think that sno0ken is going to be favored here, despite it being PENTA's map. Now, favored in the matchup, but favored in terms of how comfortable they are. It's a map that lends itself very well to unique angles, and that's what sno0ken are so famous for.
And also, if this season is any indication, Bank has been a matchup that is almost never even. It's almost always a blowout one way or another. Exactly. How many 5-0s have we seen in Latin America on Bank? What is it, 3 so far this season? 2 or 3 5-0s that we've seen on Bank in just Latin America alone, and that's crazy. Now, of course, they do play Bank an awful lot, as you touched upon.
Oh, yeah.
A lot more,
20% pick rate?
It's somewhere. It was one of the highest, if I remember correctly. Both it and Consulate have a very high pick rate in Latin America, and of course, you're going to find regional variations. But for both these teams, it's something where, yes, I think sno0ken is going to perform as well as they did. Of course, I think a couple things happened in that last matchup. Number 1, PENTA is a team that, while dominant, we've seen them take a couple rounds to get used to their opponents. In their first matchup against B-Genius, they did this. In their matchup 2 weeks ago, they did this, or last week, they did this as well. And it's one of those things where they need a couple rounds to be able to see exactly what's happening, which is what Fabian said and what you touched on as well. And when they do that, that train leaves the station and nobody stops it. It just keeps going, and so far they've looked really good. And I think against sno0ken, if sno0ken can come out as strongly as they did here in the map we just saw, be able to catch them off guard, if they can keep that ball rolling and not let PENTA get any footing whatsoever, then they could possibly steal the map away.
Another thing that I think that sno0ken could do to put it in their advantage is, okay, so of course I'm going to reference the round where PENTA made a bad call, went for the kitchen drop down, and it ended up costing them the round. They still had a very significant advantage in that round. Now, they actually, if you look at it from a tactical perspective, it wasn't necessarily a bad call. It was more like a 50-50 blunder, and they happened to be to come up on the loss there. And why did they come up on the loss? They came up on the loss because sno0ken played conservatively. They did not over-rotate. And that's a mistake that we see a lot of teams make when playing against PENTA, trying to over-bolster a specific push, and PENTA will just sidestep them. In this instance, sno0ken, well, that specific instance, sno0ken did not try to over-bolster. They just waited patiently for the push to come in, as you do on a Clubhouse basement hold.
Right.
And if we see more of that, specifically on defense from sno0ken, I think that could be something that leads them to more success, at least, moving forward onto a map like Bank. Being ready for the unpredictable play that is PENTA.
Now, one thing, too, that I'm going to ask you, we mentioned Pengu's ability on Blackbeard.
Yes.
We know how strong PENTA's, anti-roam game is.
Yeah.
Clubhouse is one of the maps where we don't see a lot of roaming.
Good point.
That could be a reason why sno0ken picked it. Now we go to Bank, and we've seen Bank is one of those maps where you can put 2 off-site and then 1 aggressive site player. And speaking of Bank, we will load into match number 2. This is, of course, PENTA's match, or PENTA's pick, rather, in the match. And we'll go to Bank for map number 2 after PENTA prevailed by a score of 5-3 on Clubhouse. Now, my question for you is there a chance that we see sno0ken play a bit more conservative on site to try and take away the benefit that PENTA has by being good at hunting down the roamers?
That's a big question. Now, of course, on a map like Clubhouse, as you talked about, I mean, we saw the roam game exist. It was always to the detriment. It was for both teams, though. On a map like Clubhouse, the roam game is not really a deciding factor. On a map like Bank, arguably, it's the complete opposite. The roam game can be one of the most influential tools for a team to really to wield. So the question then becomes, will that counteraction of the roam game from PENTA, that clear, be as efficient enough to deny sno0ken that tool? Will sno0ken invest in the tool, or are they going to play, like you said, on the site? The answer is, I hope that they invest in that. I hope they invest in the roam game, because they need something to push them away from PENTA's grip. They really have to have something going in their favor, and a roam game is one of those big swinging objects that can sometimes be just that, the sort of thing that will allow you to push away from a team that has so far been playing pretty dominantly.
It does look like they will establish themselves on that second floor. So the answer immediately is yes, they are going to roam to a certain extent.
But then you have KS playing Jackal. And you have that roam clear coming out from PENTA. Again, like you talked about, one of the most vicious roam clears in the European, if not the entire Pro League. So will it work for them? Will it work against them? Is the really big question. And I have to say, if they can't make it work for them, as it seemingly is going to be the case here, ENCE getting the first kill of the round and the map onto secretly roaming upstairs in the CEO office, leaving Renewals all alone to challenge Pengu on the window unsuccessfully, as he will be eliminated by ENCE pushing in. Good coordination there from PENTA. And I guess we have our answer, ladies and gentlemen. The roaming tool for sno0ken will not be successfully utilized, at least here on this first round on the basement hold.
And it'll prompt Meepy to have to run for cover.
Oh,
a little bit of parkour as Meepy and sno0ken are able to even this out at 3 apiece as both ENCE and KS go. So those are both of your entries down for PENTA, and a tight angle being held from Pengu.
Maybe I spoke too soon, and evening out of the man count here very quickly.
And Meepy's just going to keep running and wasting time, which is good because, once again, the site is in the basement. You can hear the first set of candelas going off. Pengu's going to try to soften up the wall as Fabian moves in. Meepy has been able to get farther off site, and one of the very few times we're actually going to see somebody use it through soft cover. Meepy, a great shot on Nagoga, and now Fabian goes down to Lackey. So yes, they did a good job of picking off the roamers early, but their site hold, and this is something that I wanted to mention as well before the action started, the site holds of sno0ken have been marvelous so far. In every single match that we've watched, they are very, very good on clamping down on that site in the final minutes of a round, and it's no exception here as Pengu is the last man standing with 60 seconds in round 1.
So, absolutely a word uttered way too soon into the round, and PENTA will put themselves in a, well, certainly predicament as Pengu goes for the drop. He's going to get hit by an Ella. Meepy going to finish things off, and I believe that was a 3K there for Meepy. Well done, sir. So yeah, Roam game working for sno0ken knows, contrary to what I was imagining there. I think what may have happened there for PENTA is they got 2 kills on the roam game, and then they're like, oh, okay, well then we have the roam game eliminated, because it's very common to assume there's only 2 roamers, or maybe 3 at the most. You also know where Meepy is because you're chasing him. And then in quick succession, just death after death after death on those roam clears coming out from PENTA, as I think they were just counting on things being a little bit more quiet. We didn't get to see the kill that happened elsewhere, but we got to see that castle kill. That was just nice gunplay. The one that happened elsewhere could have just been, oh, there's definitely not 4 roamers, right? Because who imagines 4 roamers in the first round? It's just an oddity, as is this, defense on the top 4, but we'll get to that later. So good job to sno0ken knows. They really needed the roam game to work in their favor, and they managed to force it out.
And they did so, I guess I would say, against all odds, and they have taken the lead for the first time. Again, they got the first round in map number 1, and they've done so again here. And yeah, for me, PENTA, I think Eunice's hop over that stairwell was probably a little ill-advised. You know, you can't... If there had been some patience and you had just waited and let Meepy rotate and then clamp down on him somewhere else, I think you probably could have gotten away without losing your life instead of...
I wouldn't say hubris. I would say, like, just over-enthusiastic, maybe.
Hubris, I think, does apply, though. You might not want to... It might not be default, but I would say it was definitely overconfidence.
Yeah,
definitely. A touch of exuberance. So, but, I mean, and you can see Eunice there was only able to get... Eunice was only able to get 2 kills. We might get a rehost here. We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see if there is any agreement whatsoever.
Now, the admin will make a call there in just a moment in the chat. If there's no call made, then that is safe to say that we're not going to be having a rehost. We will be having a rehost, ladies and gentlemen. Pokeball not working, unfortunately. It happens, you know, things happen, and we'll be moving on. It's still going to be 1-0 in favor of sno0ken knows. And I don't think that round was going to count since it was so early into the round, but we'll find out, of course. The admins have final say on these things.
We don't make the shots.
Yes.
We don't call the shots. We just, we're the messenger.
Well, we kind of call it shot, like in a way.
We literally call what's
we call
happening.
the actual shots.
What's happening.
But not the...
But not the real shots.
Yeah, not the ones that
not
matter.
the ones that matter.
The admin shots.
Yes. So.
But anyway...
We digress.
All that aside, whatever that was... It is going to be a top 4 defense from PENTA, which is, I think, something we can talk about. That is a really abnormal site to hold. The reason it's abnormal to hold is because it is so easily counteracted by simply moving onto the garage, the building adjacent, and just using an ACOG to pick off people who are playing inside the bomb site. There's not a lot that you can do as a defender to counteract that. Now, the things you can do as a defender to counteract that is open up a lot of horizontal control, try to take stock or storage, hold both of those. Also, you can play vertically underneath, so as you would as if you're defending a tellers or an archives. There's pretty much that entire thing is destructible, so you got a lot of control if you just look straight up. There are arguable options, but when it comes down to it, all of them leave themselves open to being countered very easily by either a roam clear or simply just sitting yourself on a building adjacent and shooting people as they move around in the bomb site. Castle's a good way to stop that, reinforcing the wall, and reinforcing every single window inside of reception is a big thing you need to do if you want to have any presence in that top floor.
And one thing that they weren't doing was sno0ken knows' push came entirely from back alley.
Yeah, that's big.
They all spawned back alley, which means that if you're going to go over and take parking garage as we load into bank again, sno0ken knows, of course, up 1-0, and PENTA will be on defense for this round, the presumption being that they will once again be upstairs in CEO and Executive Lounge, which they are, and it looks to me like the same set of operators. Now, sno0ken knows was spawning in an area that really isn't helpful for that push, and especially now that they know exactly what's going to be happening, I'm very curious to see if there's some changes made as to how they're going to attack the site.
I'm going to bet you $10 that we're going to see one person at least spawn by that garage spawn and then put himself with an ACOG on the garage spawn. Sorry, excuse me, on the garage like itself and start to look for that long angle. But we'll see out in just a second. There were some technical issues, sorry by the way, just for the delay there, ladies and gentlemen, but No problemo. We should be getting underway here. Appreciate your patience.
Now, for this defense here, they don't have a castle, so that's one off the board. They do, however, have a mirror. You can see that the way they placed it, of course, they had one mirror inside of what appeared to be that closet, and then they had another that looked like it was positioned somewhere in and around the back of bomb site A. I'm wondering if we're going to see something similar. There's going to be at least reinforcements going up inside of that meeting room, or the boardroom, rather, to put a mirror in.
5 seconds left.
And it looks like it might have happened again.
Did it happen again? Oh,
It apparently happened again.
something's going on with them Pokeballs, ladies and gentlemen.
So an impact grenade, we call them Pokeballs, an impact grenade apparently did not detonate effectively, and when that sort of thing happens, there's a technical issue.
Yeah, I mean,
we will rehost early on in a round.
Yeah, we'll see what the admin call is this time. Yeah, it's going to be another rehost, ladies and gentlemen. You can tell what's happening here. Well, you can't tell what exactly is happening with the Pokeball, but you can see what their plan is. They want to open up that, I believe it's the northmost A site wall facing towards square stairs or skylight stairs or whatever you want to call them.
Wall, whichever.
Yep, exactly. And if you open up that, it lends you a lot of rotation potential for you as an attacker. Plus, the only real way to cover it from an angle is either from the balcony, from the back alley, or from the skylight above. And those are two positions that aren't like, you can't stay there. You can't just linger as an attacker. So if defender finds an opportunity to peek out, it can sometimes help his team quite a lot. I like that idea from PENTA. Those impact grenades, unfortunately, just not working. So hopefully they're going to work this time when we get this next rehost up, and we'll see in just a second. We're remaking the entire lobby this time just to be certain.
Yeah, and it's a bit of frustration, but these sorts of things happen.
Yep.
And now, I mean, you can't really do much about it. Even Fabian said that, I sprayed the wall to try to make sure that it would work. And
yeah. I mean, you got to have fair competitive play. A lot of you guys might be wondering, oh, just an impact grenade, it's no big deal, right? It just means one rotation doesn't exist. In this instance, when we're talking about a top floor hold, a bank, that's such an abnormal thing. And very obviously, PENTA is going to have each and every different little thing accounted for. So, yeah, that tiny little impact hole probably means quite a lot to the strategy.
Absolutely. And I'm very interested to see what outside of Fabian playing with those impact grenades as a Legion, where is he going to throw those goo traps? Where you got to assume probably the main doorway. I mean, you got to think from that boardroom, such the conference room, maybe the back stairs. But I mean, if Fabian stays alive till the end of the round, which he does quite well, it's going to be 7 traps available at his disposal to be able to try to choke areas off, or at least slow down the attackers when they do decide to make a push in. So
the thing to note for me from that round, when we're talking about Legion traps and where they're going to be finding themselves, is that they are playing a very, very open attack or defense strategy on that top floor. My guess is a lot of those legions are going to go into the choke points that the defenders themselves are opening up with those impact holes. I think we'll probably see 1 or 2 at least on each impact hole. And then you have the doors that are adjacent to those holes, like the storage room doorway. That's going to have a couple. It'll just be on the choke points in all likelihood. And I think we've been seeing some good use out of Legion from PENTA specifically. We've talked about this in the past. Legion's an operator that so often just, when played, is played poorly in the Pro League. And it's not to the fault of the players. I think Legion's the sort of operator you need to discuss as a team and say, okay, this is where we need these traps to go in order for them to be useful in this hold. It's the same thing as like Valkyrie cams, to an extent. Valkyrie cams are, I would argue, infinitely more useful.
I was going to say the same, yes.
Yeah, but the placement of the Valkyrie cams is oftentimes very influential on the, well, are really the ultimate end-all be-all of a lot of defensive rounds. But Legion traps can be very influential if placed correctly, depending on where your teammates need them to be.
Right.
So the thought process going into those Legion traps is very apparent, and when we see a team just like, hey, let's bring Legion and throw them wherever, that's usually where he doesn't end up being all that useful.
Now, as the lobby does get created, we just wait for the players to file in, just probably another bout of seconds here. They run a dock on this site. Now, we do see Doc come out, not usually for his gadget, more so for the ACOG, because of the way that it works on the MP, and he's able to usually get a couple kills in that. How are they going to set up a dock to get the most usage and the most efficiency out of him, or the most effectiveness out of him, rather, on that second floor with the rotation holes that we saw them trying to do? Is it one of those things where you potentially use the dock to look all the way down into the main lobby of the bank and risk getting picked off on top of parking garage? Or how do you employ a dock the best way in that situation?
Well, the odds are they're going to be using the hammer anvil strategy on stock, which, if you're not sure what stock is, it's the little room that's got the 2 big windows that face it from the balcony from the back alley spawn.
A lot of people will call it like trading room as well.
Trading room.
Stock.
It's
called
it's
stock.
stock. Pro players generally call it stock because it's the stock trading room.
Yes.
And that's just very short. So from stock, if you're playing in there, you have a player like an Ella, for example, playing like inside of stock behind the the little cubicle half walls, we can call them, I guess. And if any of the vaults come in through the window, it'll obviously detonate an Ella. But you also have the backup of someone playing inside of storage with the angle through the doorway and a hole in the wall that person can then kill pretty safely anyone who vaults in through the window as an attacker.
Right.
So if you're playing that strategy, I would say the dock is probably going to be the guy inside of storage or just playing in the stock hallway for the same angle. And the reason is he can then also pick up the defender inside of stock if he should be down, for example, a nade that is thrown by the attacker. So it's a very versatile position to play. Also, you can challenge the garage angle if someone's trying to fight you all the way from the garage spawn. It's a really good position to have in your favor. So sorry about the delay, ladies and gentlemen. We're having some technical difficulties. We'll be getting this up and going as soon as possible.
We're just waiting for the lobby to get up. There's one technical issue that can happen with the lobby is that if you try to create too many custom lobbies in a row, it will time you out, essentially to try to prevent people from spamming the creation of games and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we're dealing with right now. We had too many rehosts in a row, and we went for
too short of a time.
Too short of a time. And
right.
we also had we went for a full game restart. So all that aside, though, I think we're going to be going for a break in just a bit, since we will be waiting for a while in order for us to be able to get that custom game back up and going. But yes, an interesting defense from Penta indeed. I cannot wait to see how it actually plays out.
So we're going to toss to a break here. We'll be back in just a matter of moments. Thank you once again for your enduring patience. We'll see you when the lobby is ready. welcome back. Thank you so much once again for your patience. Just a couple technical issues were preventing us from getting back into the game, but we are back now with the second matchup of the day, which is PENTA versus sno0ken, and we'll jump straight in to the second round of Bank. And PENTA's on defense, sno0ken on attack, and sno0ken is actually up by a score of 1-0, being successful on their first defense. So we'll load into Bank, and we'll let you see exactly what's going on, and hopefully third time's a charm.
Yeah, so just to completely recap about the exact problems that were happening there. Not only were impact grenades not working on a very specific wall for PENTA on their top floor setup, but also shotguns weren't working, deagles weren't working, nothing was working. Couldn't make a hole in the wall. So, hopefully that is not going to be a problem now, and if it is, I'm not sure what we'll do. Maybe just pray to Lord Tachanka for a bit, but you know, it is what it is, and we'll see what exactly happens here in this round as the setup goes out.
We'll hold our breath as they do get set up, and you can see they are getting ready. Fabian was the one having the issue, so keep your eye on that Caltrop logo. As Fabian looks to use his impact grenade to try and get a strategy working, and this is something too that we touched on very briefly. It looks like he's actually not even going to do it. I don't even think he's going to chance it, which is a smart idea because
Let's see. I mean, let's give him some time.
Maybe he just needs to run it off. I'm not certain, but
10 seconds remaining.
Oh, is this what he was trying? Hey!
And it worked this time. So here we go.
Seconds remaining.
Now, one of the things too is that a strategy that he was using is that it could be given away, and that's one thing that we talked about very briefly.
Oh!
The bomb.
Do I win 10
Attackers
bucks?
drop the diffuser.
I mean, I didn't take that bet. I didn't doubt you at all.
I should have pushed the.
We should have shaken hands.
Yeah.
But round number 2 now underway. We talked to death about the strategy, so we can actually focus on the action for the first little bit here. And you can see, what did we call? They've spawned by parking garage, which is why you would have won those $10 for those that weren't tuning in. And actually 2 that are now pushing from the side of the building rather than have all 5 of them go towards the alleyway.
I've got paper here. I've got a pen. I could have written up a quick contract. We could have shaken hands, but I didn't want to press the issue, to be honest. All that aside, though, this attack is going underway pretty swiftly from sno0ken. They're applying all the pressure that is necessary from every single angle, and this is why CEO is not a favored bomb site on Bank. It really isn't. It's just too easy to pincer, and as you can see, Chaos playing that angle that I was talking about onto stock from storage. And I don't think we have anyone actually playing inside of stock, though. They're not going to take that risk. As I say risk, though, Eunice going to be getting aggressive on a Lackey from the square stairs. Not sure if that's the right call, but it will actually work out for him in this instance. Still very risky, though.
Very rare to see an Ella use that much of your magazine and not be able to get a kill. And secretly blows himself up. So the first frag of the round is going to go to Secretly, who kills himself. And that will set up his team very well. As you can see, Lackey on a shred of health as well. 1 to 2 bullets away from certain death. An excellent job to that sledge. That is the King Leo school for how to use grenades.
I don't know if anyone else saw that coming, but even if he had gotten the grenade off, it would have hit the wall.
Yeah, it would have hit the ridge on the window or the window frame, and that would have been hit. I mean, that was a lose-lose situation, and lose he did.
It just made me thinking too much about his nade placement. That's unfortunate, but moving on, sno0ken still has a good amount of control in this round. They can make an execution happen on this site with 55 seconds to go.
One of their soft breachers is down. You do still have the Ash. You can see sno0ken is going to take a healthy portion of damage too, and all the pushes in being thwarted until Renewals and Meepy are able to eliminate Pengu and KS before Fabian takes down Renewals and puts us at a 3v3. So as you said, sno0ken doing a good job of potentially still hanging on, but Meepy goes down, and look at how little health is left in both Lackey and sno0ken as Eunice is able to get that kill. Doesn't miss his shots. That time around, Fabian hold up, waiting for the push of the Thermite as Goga can close in. sno0ken takes Fabian out of the fight as Eunice finds sno0ken for the refrag and leaves Lackey, who will get the diffuser planted as Eunice pushes up and pre-fires every single spot except for where Lackey is and doesn't miss. The Ella gets the final kill, and PENTA, thanks to the, I guess, the betrayal of Secretly, are able to take round number 2.
He betrayed himself. Your worst enemy is yourself, ladies and gentlemen. You learned it here. And now it's going to be an even scoreline on that 1-1. Both teams seeming to favor the defensive side of this map, and that stands to reason. It is a very defender-sided. I would argue this is a defender-sided map. Staff room open area, going to be the second defense coming out from sno0ken knows. They went for the basement first round, but they were a little bit abnormal. I think we can say that. Doing a 4-man roam, it's definitely a stretch. It worked out great for them, though. It caught PENTA way off guard. Now, going on to staff room open area, it's a little bit less abnormal in terms of site selection as compared to PENTA's top floor hold. But how are they going to actually institute this hold? Like, what's going to be the thing that they do here that's going to throw PENTA off guard like we saw in that first round?
And this is a hard site to defend unless you really know your strats in and out, especially against a team like PENTA who was going to know this and know how to counter it. But one thing that has remained consistent from sno0ken knows all season long is to expect the unexpected. They have pulled a lot of things out that I don't think we were anticipating and have thrived because of it. And that's why they are now in the playoffs and almost took game number 1 against the defending champions. And I suspect that we're going to see some interesting ways to hold this. Renewals has been roaming as Rook twice now, and nobody expects the roaming Rook anymore.
Nobody expects it. I love it. Yeah, no, it is.
He's not roaming anymore.
He's fallen back. But he did open up a lot of opportunities for his roamers with those impact grenades. Great use of the utility there. Rook, very far, I think, as a stretch. Extremely far, maybe, out of the meta right now, seeming almost little to no play in this current state of the game. But on a map like Bank, I guess, if you're going for a heavy roam game, you need more impact grenades. Justifiable to bring them, you know? You can make that work for you. I would have expected to see him spawn peeking, but yeah, I guess not.
And one thing, too, for people that are not as familiar with this game is that Rook armor does not protect you whatsoever from a headshot.
Right.
And, of course, when you play at this level, how are you going to die most of the time to a headshot? In this case, Renewals gets gunned down using shots to every part of his body except for his head, as Eunice looked to push up but is thwarted by the castle of Meepy, who catches him on the stairs.
The attackers cannot know that he's been down. Meanwhile, Fabian going to go down inside of the main lobby by secretly a good roam inside of the main lobby itself. Eunice going to look to challenge but fall back, instead focusing his efforts on the roamers on the top floor. They do not know Renewals is down. Again, no point notifications in the Pro League. So while they did down him, they just can't possibly be aware of that unless they drone him. Secretly going to get marked and finished off by Eunice. An excellent frag there. Good coordination for PENTA. And it's now a 3-on-4 as there is no hope for Renewals being picked up with a lack of a dock in this situation.
You've still got an F2 above. I think that's a situation where instead of a Rook, a dock would have been more useful. I think it would have been the impact grenades that were important. But Meepy getting a kill and then a refrag or a trade from KS onto Renewals. So the Rook is finally finished off as the Twitch is able to go inside of stock, and Pengu is going to get Meepy as well, and that's going to leave just Lackey and sno0ken up. But Lackey, a fraction of his health remaining, and it will be the only the smoke that is whole.
Oh, no,
and
no.
KS,
KS
he went for a 360 Twitch drone, couldn't get it, and through the hatch. KS is able to get the final 2 on sno0ken, as well as Lackey, and that's it. And PENTA stringing 2. Now they're up 2-1.
Did I say save? I meant baited. I meant to say baited. Totally called that one. Like you said, 2-1. What's going to be the bomb site now, PENTA? Where are you going to bring us? Teller's Archives. So no basement defense from, I would argue, both teams. Okay, yes. sno0ken knows they defended the basement, but did they really defend the basement? No, they did not defend the basement. 90% of the kills on that round of that basement hold were up in the top 2 floors. One single kill was downstairs. So nobody's really defended the basement yet. And PENTA is not going to start that trend here as they go for not an abnormal site, just, you know, usually not your secondary.
And we even touching on that, they didn't even make it close to the basement either. It wasn't even that they didn't even get to attack the basement because of the roam game. They didn't even come in close proximity to getting there. They were halted on the first floor.
Torn apart, really.
Yes, sno0ken knows feasted on that round.
Love it.
And now we head to what is technically round number 4 with PENTA holding an advantage. Of course, PENTA taking map number 1 means that if they are successful over the next couple rounds, that they will punch their ticket to Sao Paulo and will be the final team, other than the APAC teams, rather, to secure their spots. The APAC finals coming up actually tomorrow, and we will know which of the two teams are making it in just a couple days.
Yeah, I think we're going to be doing a quick little recap at the end of this stream for all of you who are not familiar with APAC. Just get you a quick rundown so you get up to date and up to speed on that new region addition to this Pro League. Very interesting region at that.
Some good teams there, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they test their mettle at LAN. I think there's a lot that they can learn and a lot of growth that will come from them as well, and I think that there's going to be a lot that are going to be catching the North American, Latin America, and EU teams off guard with. Now, almost first minute expired. You can see that once again, sno0ken is just managed to work their way inside of the building, but they still have been unable to flush out any of these roamers that look quite heavily holed up right now in that CEO office and inside of the
Oof, almost a team kill there as Goga makes the run out decision onto Secretly. Finally gets that kill. sno0ken get a challenge onto the meeting table. Not gonna get the kill on Pengu. He's gonna walk away with half of his HP. And it's just sno0ken right now trying to collapse onto this storage room. Lackey gonna save his teammate, taking out Fabian. Very aggressive play from Fabian. Not gonna work out for him. And now it's starting to even itself out onto a 4-on-4. Junis challenging, still inside of that CEO office, and it's just back and forth with sno0ken and PENTA. sno0ken gonna take out Pengu, Goga gonna refrag onto Renewals, and it's just a constant engagement on this storage room. Lackey, a kill onto Eunice. Eunice, a refrag onto Lackey. It's a trade. Chaos. The last remaining PENTA defender. sno0ken and Meepy going to contest from above. They have everything in their favor except for a little sliver of HP on sno0ken. Gonna allow KS to finish him off quickly. But with 1 minute, sno0ken have everything they need to finish this round.
They found the location of the Mira as well, just inside of Tellers, and are going to look to push inside. It'll be very easy for them to open that wall up inside of the office and push an open area. Of course, you have both of your hard destructors, your hard breachers still remaining, and sno0ken is going to be likely first contact. And KS is in a good position to be able to challenge both of them. If the Thermite with the diffuser pushes in through that hole inside of office, then the Vector will await, but Meepy, what a shot! Hits the deck, and on his belly is able to get the frag, and we are all tied up. Look at this. Whew. That is as nice a shot as it gets.
A pixel, ladies and gentlemen. Not even needing the use of an ACOG. Great job to Meepy there. Interesting decision there from sno0ken. Let's split up when one of us is on a sliver of HP against Amira. I'm not sure that's the right call, but it ended up working out for them in the end. And yet again, ladies and gentlemen, we have a back and forth map here. On the second of the best of three again, PENTA walked away with that first map. It was Clubhouse, which is sno0ken map selection. They walked away 5-3. Now on PENTA's map selection, it's 2-2. And there's still very much potential for either team to walk away with a significant lead. And I think we have, ladies and gentlemen, another basement hold, this time from sno0ken. Will they actually defend from the basement this time is the big question. Will PENTA try to counteract if they don't? Now, the way that PENTA could very easily counter a basement hold not in the basement on this heavy roam, which is what sno0ken is going to be doing again, by the way. You can tell by the way they're opening up these drop downs. This is going to be a heavy roam game from sno0ken. The way that PENTA could counter this is to simply push in from the server room. And even if, now the thing is, of course, sno0ken is going to have somebody in a place to stop this, but even if they do stop it immediately, and they do have the rotation come from those roamers very quickly onto the drop down, they're still going to face the problem of, oh, well, now we have a bunch of open drop downs and we forfeited all of our control because of a server take. So it's down to PENTA to read that. And if there's any team that's going to be able to read that, well, it's PENTA.
They've got Pengu on Blackbeard, and those are terms of an engagement.
I think he wants to win.
I think that's a pretty standard thing too. Some harassment from the Twitch drone of KS onto Renewals, who we will see the Rook roam yet again off-site upstairs. You can see that Pengu is going to see him right away, and
wow,
what a shot! The lethality of that Scar able to take the Rook down. And once again, that Rook armor does not protect you from headshots whatsoever. And case in point.
You also saw that secretly inside of the elevator. Now you can see the encroaching Penta lineup. Gonna get the flashbang onto Secretly. He's full blind, ladies and gentlemen. One more flash and it's all over for him. He peeks aggressively but loses the fight. Fabian coming out on top. And now it's a complete roam clear happening here for Penta, but this happened last time. And last time, sno0ken was able to turn around and give them a message in kind, but this time it's not happening. Eunice gonna get another kill, this time onto Meepy. 2 versus 5 now, still plenty of time. Lackey gonna get the finish off on Chaos, but there's still plenty of pressure from the Penta side. Lackey gonna get very much lit up as he retreats back into the bomb site. So they're still safe and alive and well, but opened up drop downs and very significant man disadvantage and lots of time yet to stall. Not sure that I can call that a successful roam game.
No, I mean, you've killed half the round, but you're facing the final 90 seconds with only 2, one of whom has a very small amount of health. Eunice is going to get another kill on the sno0ken, and that's just going to leave the Whisper of Lackey left to try and outduel the 4 members of Penta, who will assuredly begin to close in. And look at how little health he has with 1 minute to go. Now, of course, Ella is an operator that is able to win these fights, especially using those concussive mines, but not even a chance as Pengu destroys that Ella through the desk. And Penta only 2 rounds away. You can just see, saw the head of Ella, didn't know where she was, but sprayed the desk, and that's all it took. And the attackers doing a much better job of getting those roamers and then holding their ground and not playing too loose and getting picked off by the defense.
So what was Clubhouse for Penta? Why did they win it? Adaptation. Why are they winning now? Why do they have this lead on Bank now? Adaptation. It was the same exact defensive strategy that sno0ken already employed once before. This time, however, Penta was ready to receive it. They were like, oh, okay, you're gonna have 4 roamers? Not a problem. We'll be aware of that this time. We'll put ourselves in a position to refrag should it be necessary, and in general we'll just be more attentive of clearing out those roamers. And well, that's exactly what they did. Now we are going to see the first defense of the basement from Penta. They have never been here before. How are they going to handle it? Will it be a 4-man roam game, or will we see a much more standardized defense of the basement in that they just play, well, almost entirely downstairs? Maybe 2 roamers, 1 roamer?
I do like that they are going downstairs, though, and as well. Penta is one team that has been among the few running a dual smoke echo.
And a mute as well, as you can see here. That's kind of weird.
And I like that because we saw it before on Clubhouse, too, that yes, you lost your smoke early, but you still had the echo there as a backup, and that's exactly how it needs to be. And of course, mute is an operator that does see a fair amount of play on this side on Bank. It's not too much of a surprise.
One thing for mute, from my perspective, is that it really perplexes me a little bit that we don't see mute played on sno0ken side. Because think about it, they have 4 roamers. I mean, I don't think we even see 4 roamers here from Penta. They maybe have 3, and yet they still bring that mute, and that mute is going to help the roam game so much. They're not even roaming on the top floor.
No,
but it's a much lighter roam, but it's gonna be, I would say, a lot more vicious because of the lack of drone information that's going to be in favor of sno0ken. That said, they do have a very good crest here from this drop down. They're going to be able to utilize in their favor, and they are collapsing pretty well onto Eunice here.
And how many times have we seen a team be able to use those mute jammers to allow the roamers to escape without being found out? And that's something, too, that I don't know exactly how it is being employed by Penta at the moment. A beautiful bout of coordination as Renewals gets taken down by a combo of that Yokai drone and Eunice, making it look so easy. That Scorpion is able to tear through anybody without much difficulty. It gives the defense an advantage of 1. And now Lackey is going to see Eunice from behind, and that is just a misplay from Eunice. They're missing every single shot except for 1 or 2, and down goes the Ella to put us at 4-4. Secretly now, and Goga will come within inches of one another, and he almost gets a second now in sno0ken too. A nice intro cell through the wall, a bit of a delay there. Just waiting for sno0ken to get around the corner. We'll have to rely on the Deagle, but instead we'll run right into Meepy on those stairs just beneath the Skylight stairwell.
Big question is, will we see Penta get more aggressive onto these open area players, or no? They're just going to let it slip away. I think that's the right call. Honestly, in this instance, sno0ken has a good lock on all of the rotations upstairs, and unfortunately, as that opportunity is missed, it was not really able to be recaptured by PENTA. Now, as time ticks away, 43 seconds, it's still 3v4, so not completely lost for PENTA. They do have a good spread and a nice way to hold this bomb site. They got the Echo drone, they've got the C4 likely on KS, and they also have, I believe, all 3 gas grenades, as you can see. They do.
And when it's a 4v3 like this, and you do have your smoke and your Echo left, it's almost like a 4v4, especially with the yokai still in play. And you can see it's just hiding from all of the mass destruction. As KS is going to wait for a drop, sees one, can't win that fight, secretly takes it, and now a 4v2 for sno0ken to be able to try and put this back on even footing. Pengu does get a kill, and you can see now PENTA is going to need to try to get into that site. Are they just going to run out of time? Blum is going down. Fabian gets a kill. There's the diffuser. Pengu gets the final kill. PENTA is now going to go one away from taking this as they will push into match point on a very, very good retake on that site.
A retake, yes, but honestly just seemed like the defensive strategy was to play as passively as possible leading to the last seconds of that round. Normally what you would see in this instance, 25 seconds ago, 3v4, we have a smoke, we have an Echo, we have all their utility in hand. What are we going to do? We're going to hard hold that bomb site, try to deny the defuse plant, but they read into the fact that sno0ken would read into that fact and would get aggressive, on the push into the site in turn. That was sno0ken's attack strategy, and it was well read. But PENTA just going an extra layer, falling back, and setting themselves up for that retake perfectly. Because of the lack of time, sno0ken didn't have the ability to maneuver in any meaningful way, and they got picked apart as they forced way too deep into that bomb site.
Yeah, and as was touched upon, you leave the smoke there to choke out the defense. You saw that they were able to stall them out for about 25 seconds. They had to push in the dying moments. And there was some very good coordination there. You saw the 2 red highlights, meaning that the Valcam had spotted them. And then when that happened, all it really took was the smoke and the Echo to push back into sight, and that was it. There wasn't even really a contest.
Yeah, and now sno0ken
10 seconds remaining.
they have defended the basement 3 times now. First time, heavy roam. Second time, heavy roam. Difference being PENTA completely adapted on that second time. They counteracted the roam in its entirety. They picked it apart, and it was a really simple attack from there on out. Just come in for your normal server take. This time, will sno0ken go for the same old and get picked apart again, or will they opt to go for a adaptation, do something, maybe a heavy anchor, a little bit of a change?
And they're going to need to do something different because PENTA is looking like they are regaining the strength that they had. So it's one of those things where PENTA does seem to get better the longer a map goes on. This is no exception whatsoever. And of course, they can taste land. They can see those plane tickets to Sao Paulo in front of their eyes, and all they need to do is win in the next 2 minutes and 15 seconds to be able to go back and defend their crown and try to close out 2017. They can't do it if they don't get to land. So now, they will push up. A great shot from ENCE on a secretly, and there's only 4 left for sno0ken for PENTA to be able to challenge. And what a trade there as Renewals, a beautiful shot around the corner onto ENCE.
I'm guessing that was an equally, whoa, shot, but unfortunately we didn't get to see it. Sounded like a one-tap even.
It did.
Good job there to get that refrag. That was very important to hold on to their hopes and dreams of pushing us to map number 3 and denying PENTA that quick and easy 2-0. But they do have to win 3 rounds in a row. Excuse me, 2 rounds in a row, including this one.
Pengu positioned on the stairs. The rounds that he's played Blackbeard, he has been nothing less than formidable. That is what we've come to know from one of the best players in all of Europe, especially one of the best Blackbeard players as well. And inside of open area, they still have been unable to flush out Renewals. Now you can see Pengu will begin to push. KS PENTA is going to get the Rook from behind before Meepy takes out KS. And now Fabian's going to come in and do battle. The Ashe and the Jaeger, how poetic. But all out of ammo, and Fabian, a beautiful pistol kill onto Meepy, will put us in a 3v2 with just under a minute to go in what could be the final round of our regular season before the teams know who is going to playoffs. And now it is all up to sno0ken and Lackey. How many times have we seen them be the final 2 alive? And a smoke will go down to try to choke off Garage. Now Lackey is going to be tasked with defending A, and he'll look into servers to try to make sure that nobody gets in. Another smoke now in Garage as well to halt anybody from pushing down those stairs, and now Lackey will actually be able to get up into that hallway and begin to push inside of servers. Now Goga sits there alongside Pengu, so you've got two. The Blackbeard to give cover while you can get the diffuser down. Fabian will come in and will get torn apart by the Scorpion of Lackey. 2v2. Pengu coming in. Goga will get in over the desk and look to try to challenge. Lackey sees him, will get Pengu. What a great play by Lackey. He's going to go for Goga, and Lackey manages to win it for sno0ken, and they stay alive as it is 4-3 now. sno0ken staving off defeat for the time being.
Gonna have to win this next attack round, though, in order to put it into that OT. PENTA, where will you defend? You've given us so many interesting sites throughout this map. What's gonna be the decision here? They're still undecided so far.
Oh, what a play by Lackey.
Yeah, no, that was an absolutely tremendous hold there by Lackey. It really shouldn't have gone in that way, though. I mean, you got to attribute a lot of it to the misplay of PENTA coming in extremely uncoordinatedly. It was the least aggressive attack I've ever seen from PENTA in this match for both maps. And then more importantly, they were coordinating not all that well. I mean, what was Fabian doing, just kind of running in by himself while his teammates were over in server? I get that the flashbangs are going to catch your enemy. You see him on the drone, you know you can make it happen, but there's the crossfire coming out from Lackey. It's just not, the potential's not there. And a little bit of a misplay, they happen, and now we're looking at the potential for that OT. Now, PENTA defending that top one.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I think it's probably going to be successful. They've looked good on defense, though if you take a look at the score sheet, defense has only won 3 times so far of a total 7 rounds. So the attackers do have the slight advantage. We will go to overtime, of course, if that trend sticks and the attackers are able to win because sno0ken is down by 1. I like the way that PENTA played on defense. Let's just touch back on that round for 1 second. The Thermite vaulting over the desk to challenge inside of red by Vault. Why would you just not start to get that plant down and have Pengu play a tight angle and force them to come to you? Instead, they went hunting.
Yeah, I think what was going on there in their heads is, okay, we got 2 things that we have to deal with right now. 1, an Ela. 2, a smoke. And both of those things have a form of disruption. Now, what can we not do when there's only 20 seconds on the clock? We can't start to try and plant simply like behind the bomb, for example, while we're covering, because what's going to happen? Gas grenades, Ela charges, and they're going to stall at the time, and we won't be able to plant. The round's going to be over on a timer. We need to make the push happen. I think it was the right call. They couldn't have possibly known that neither of the defenders were in a great position to actually use their utility. But that was the case. And if they had gone for a simple plant, I think they could have pulled away with that round. Again, that would have been the wrong call, though.
And now you can see ENCE is in rough shape. He's cornered inside of that elevator. He does not have impacts to be able to get himself out efficiently. He does have the barbed wire, one of which he still has not deployed, and that's going to be tough for him to be able to escape that elevator, especially if they drone him out really quickly. And you can see that up on top of parking garage, they're going to wait for him to push. And Lackey, though, will ignore him and begin to his assault, rather, on that CEO office. They might let ENCE actually escape from this unscathed. Renewals gets first kill onto Pengu. That's your bandit down. ENCE now still cornered. And Renewals is going to wait. If the L is able to push out at the same time, could potentially get a kill on the Twitch here, who sees, and that's exactly what happens. ENCE dives out as BattleEye takes 2 casualties with him, and Renewals goes down, and now Goga and KS add to that. And Lackey and Meepy falling means that it is a 4v2, and PENTA in a very strong position to secure. sno0ken and Secretly are going to need to do all of the work. How many times have we seen them be the last 2? Fabian gets a kill on the Secretly as sno0ken takes out ENCE, and it's all up to the Hibana versus 3 members of the defending champions to prevent them from taking this and going to LAN. The Hibana will start to push in through front desk. Survey CEO office, and Fabian, the captain, gets the final kill, and PENTA goes to Sao Paulo, as we have the final team from EU finding their place.
An excellent defense there from PENTA. I like the changes that sno0ken has tried to put in there, coming instead of just from everywhere, directly from the square stairs. Unfortunately, they did spread themselves a little bit more thin than they could have, or than they should have, arguably. And as a result, they did walk away with a loss. A nice performance specifically from ENCE, 10 kills. Really standing apart from every other person on both teams, and not only that, that's 10 kills post-rehost.